So, David, we wanted to talk about Arsenal and that fantastic win last week. And so we head into the PSG game next, which is going to be fascinating. Another big challenge against another very, very good side. But they'll take a lot of confidence from beating Madrid, won't they?
Yeah, definitely. The two results were fantastic. The game at the Emirates is possibly one of the best nights at the Emirates, I think. I've asked people that on my podcast, and they were talking about Barcelona, but the atmosphere that was at the Emirates against Real Madrid was fantastic. But then to go to the Bernabeu and beat them was equally incredible. And it shows you where this team is. I know there's a lot of motivation to win the Premier League, to win the Champions League, because they haven't won the Champions League of the club. So that's great motivation for the players. But yeah, it was fantastic. But I think the PSG game will be a lot more difficult tactically, because as we saw when PSG played Liverpool in Paris, they were fantastic, and that was against our Premier League leaders. And if it wasn't for Alisson, who knows what the score could have been.
Yeah, but on the other way, Donnarumma's made some great saves to keep them in it. And Villa actually beat them, didn't they, in the second game, which will give Arsenal some encouragement, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you look at that, you look at the way that Villa played and the way that they went at them. It shows that you can get goals against them. I still think PSG were still managing the game and the scoreline. The overall scoreline, obviously, but. Yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a tough game, because I think PSG are a little bit better than what Real Madrid are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They were. I mean, look, Arsenal played brilliantly in both games, but the second leg, they really did play into Arsenal's hands, Real Madrid. They seemed sort of panicky and just all a bit desperate from the off, didn't they? It was a strange performance by them.
It was. They seemed to run out of ideas, because I've never seen Real Madrid cross the ball into the area so much. When they hadn't got like a strong centre forward that was going to be challenging for them, and the Arsenal defenders dealt with it perfectly. And David Raya didn't have a great many saves to make. The ones that he made were quite comfortable for him. So yeah, it was all round. It was a fantastic performance. Obviously, we're going to be missing Partey in the first semi-final. That'll be a big miss for Arsenal. But we've got the game tomorrow against Palace. So I'm sure that there'll be a little bit of a different formation in that, just to try and get some fluidity into that style of play without Partey.
Well, they had a big win at the weekend, and I think, one of my frustrations with Tottenham is that they can play well last week and then put that performance in last night. And, I think sometimes a little bit of momentum going into these big games, it must be important that the idea that you can, not be particularly at it and then suddenly turn it on in Europe is pretty high risk, isn't it?
It's very high risk, yeah, definitely. And if you look back, the game against Ipswich, you might have thought, that could be a draw, and Arsenal taking the foot off the gas, but no, they didn't. They were at Ipswich straight away, right from the off, and they could have had more. They hit the post a few times, and it just shows you that the momentum from that Real Madrid game is carrying on, and hopefully that lasts till we play PSG.
Yeah, he'll want them at it tomorrow night when he Mikel Arteta, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. You mentioned Alisson there. It's a very interesting goalkeeping situation at Liverpool coming up, because he's great. The number 2 Keller is great, and then they've signed Mamardashvili, also a brilliant keeper. Something's going to give, isn't it?
Probably Keller. You would think someone somewhere in the Premier League is going to get a very good goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. When you look at that, you don't know who's going to give. What's Alisson thinking? Is he thinking that I still fancy a few more years here, because his form's been brilliant. This season, I would say it's probably the best that he's played for Liverpool. He's making some crucial saves in, like what we talked about before the break. Not having a lot to do, but when he's called upon, he's making big saves, match-changing saves.
I had a question come in. David, what next for Aaron Ramsdale? I've got a name on that one, but what advice would you give him to get back to challenging for England and playing at the top level? Look, he's been busy, and if anybody has, I wouldn't say benefited from what's happened at Southampton, but he has stood out. He's been busy, and I don't think he's come out of it with his reputation particularly tarnished.
No, he's had an opportunity to show what he can do, and he's done it brilliantly. There's been games where he's had like so many saves to make, yet the defence is still leaking goals. But It's a tough one because, he's only just gone to Southampton, but he's been relegated, and I'm sure he wants to get back in the Premier League. Where that might be, I don't really know. You look at places like Bournemouth with Kepa on loan, and does that carry on? And that's not not much of a change in lifestyle for him, is it? Southampton and Bournemouth. So there's different things. And I think once one goalkeeper leaves somewhere, then the merry-go-round will start, and then it all slots into place, doesn't it?
I had a question about Leeds. As a Yorkshireman and former Leeds player in his youth, did David celebrate their promotion? One of the listeners asks.
Oh, massively. And don't forget, always been a Leeds fan. Yeah. So I was watching last night, and it was a bit awkward in our house last night because we won 6, and then obviously Burnley beat Sheffield United, and my wife Frankie was a Sheffield United fan, so she wasn't too happy. So I had to calm it down a little bit.
How do you think? I mean, we were talking earlier on about how they'll fare in the Premier League. We're talking to Josh Warrington, your fellow Leeds fan. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? And he gives them and Burnley a chance for sort of different approaches in the way they play, but it gives them a chance.
Yeah, and it's about recruitment. It's about spending the money wisely. You are going to need some, 2 or 3 quality players if you can get them in, and that will help to keep them up. But when you look at this season's Premier League, the 3 that came up went down, and it's been decided, quite early. But I'm sure that with Leeds and the fans, the way that they get behind them, they've got a great chance of staying up.
It's about keeping players too, because James Trafford's had a great season, hasn't he, for Burnley? And a lot of clubs would be interested.
Leeds will want to keep Manos Solomon. He's done very well, so it'd be interesting to see what happens. We wanted to. Amelia mentioned in the news bulletin there that Jack Wilshere could relegate Aaron Ramsey, 2 guys you probably got to know, being around Arsenal as a coach.
It always makes you feel older though when they're like it's their teams, they're coaching them rather.
It's going to be interesting. Did you always see? I mean, I kind of would have thought you might have seen Aaron Ramsey as a coach, but it's interesting. Jack did some shows with Andy Goldstein on Drive, lovely guy. But I mean, did you see him as someone who's going to go into coaching?
I did. I've not met Aaron Ramsey too many times, so he was like a little bit after me, but with Jack, because I go into Arsenal and coach with the young goalies. So Jack was, for a season, nearly 2 seasons, Jack was my boss when I used to go in sometimes. Right. I'd be like, don't even try it, Jack. But to be fair to him, he was brilliant. He's got his coaching skills and the way that he can express himself to the players and the way that he did with the academy players was brilliant. And I always felt that he was too good for that job. And now he's moved on, and now I think this is a great chance for him to show what he can do because, as a coach, and technically he's really good.
We had a question. One of the listeners says, "I'd love to go fishing with Dave. Any chance?" Well, you might see him on the bank. I read a story the other day. Xerxes and Mazraoui at Manchester United went along to Trafford Tackle and Bait in Stratford. Popped in there. Picked up some gear, so they've been going out fishing together. The pair. Maybe they'll still Phil Foden on the bank, quite possibly. But
footballers love fishing.
Phil loves his fishing. I think he's even got his own lake now. So he'll be doing some big fishing there, I'm sure.
Have you not had a chance to fish his lake yet? I mean, we'll put out an issue a come and get me plea to him if we can, if you fancy going along.
Yeah, see who can catch the biggest.
Yeah, he's always got, every time you see him, he's got a massive carp in his hand. He's obviously doing something right.
Yeah, he's getting it all sorted out for him properly, and it's a different way of relaxing. That's what I used to use it for. I still do. I've got a river in the garden. I love that. But at the moment, I'm fishing some big lakes, trying to catch some big carp, like what Phil's been offering. So we'll see. Trust me, when I get a big one, everybody will know.
Well, if he's listening, hopefully invite you along. Well, cheers, David. Hope everything goes well with Football Shirt Friday. We'll keep the flag flying, keep talking about it this week. And good to talk to you as always. Thanks a lot.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Take care.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.